Welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, we are going to create your first script. This script is intended to be what I like to call the know where the fuck you're at indicator. And it's pretty simple to make. Yes, it's similar to a lot of other stuff you've seen, probably Bollinger Bands, some other Ichimoku or channeling indicators. But this one we're going to make ourselves. We're going to add on it later, and I'm going to show you what it's for, how to use it, how I like to use it. And it's a very simple starting ground where you can use it right after you create it, but also we can build on it in future episodes to, add more to it as we go. So first off, go watch the intro video if you haven't already to know what we're doing here and what I intend to help you with. The assumption is that you already have TradingView. That is the software we're going to be working in for most of this. At least these first few series, we're going to stick with PineScript, which is TradingView's scripting language to create things. You can use the web version of TradingView. For me, I've got it downloaded. I'm using the software locally on my computer. But once you have it installed, which I'm sure most of you do, I think it's by far one of the most popular charting softwares. So hopefully most of you already have this, but let's go ahead and open it up and pull up your favorite chart. We're going to use the NASDAQ futures today. This is my favorite trade-in. This is my favorite for algorithms for everything. I've traded Forex, crypto, CFDs, all of it. And by far I like futures the most, specifically the way NASDAQ prints price. I like it a lot. I'm familiar with it. So once you have your chart up, let's go through how to create your first PineScript. So we'll hide this and let's get started. So down here at the bottom left, you see Pine Editor. I click there. This little drop down next to your untitled script. Create here, create new strategy. Now you can use indicator, but considering the goal of this course is to eventually fully automate and have things like backtesting, have things like connect your broker so that you can automate your trades all the way. Even if you don't choose to do that, I like to stick within the strategy scripts because you can easily take it from an indicator to a full-blown algorithm. You don't have to, rewrite it or do anything like that. So another thing I like to do is this panel window down here is pretty small and it can get cluttered very quickly. So I like to move it into a new tab. So you click these three dots right here on the right and open editor, new tab, and you can see it will pull up in a new tab, which makes it easier just for coding purposes. So we're going to get rid of this for now. And we're on PineScript version 6, which I'm still getting adjusted to, but so far I've been loving it. So we will click save, Command S if you're on Mac, Control S if you're on Windows, and let's name it. So we will call this, we'll call it a high time frame bias. Call it. If you'd like to organize your scripts, which is a good idea, because if you're making a lot of them, the file window for scripts within TradingView is kind of a mess. You can put the year here. I got that from The Art of Trading, who is another PineScript content creator. Fantastic. When I was learning PineScript, I used his videos for a lot of it. He's a great reference. But what we're doing here is more teaching you applications for algorithms, how to make that. Whereas for him, I know he does some of that, but for the most part, it's just teaching you PineScript as the scripting language. So if you are lost on anything, go check out his channel, go read the PineScript docs. I will cover a lot of that here, but for the most part, it's going to be usable applications. So let's see. Let's get rid of that. Get rid of this fill orders on standard open, high, low, close. This is only if you're using Heikin-Ashi charts, which we are not. And then we'll also put our name right here in the title of the strategy. High time frame bias. All right, so let's get started. First thing we need, well, let's start with how to come about making an algorithm or an indicator. The logic and thinking behind it. So what do we want this to do? We want this to solve the easiest and first and foremost question when we're going into our low time frame trading for the day. What should our daily bias be? Where are we at? A lot of you will look on the daily chart, but if you're a price action trader like I used to be, you don't really put a lot of indicators and lipstick on it. You just kind of look at the way your price action is moving and go from there. But indicators are not bad. Even if you're a smart money concepts trader, even if you're support and resistance, indicators are not bad. They're your friend. Use them. Just don't go too crazy with them. So what we want to do here is use as little as possible to get as much data as possible without just completely covering our charts. So we want to make a way for us to know where we're at on the high time frames, and that way we can use that information on the lower time frames to make decisions, frame trades, frame how we think price is going to move for the day. So we'll start out with doing some basic EMAs. We'll create a short EMA. Based off of the candle close. And this will be, we'll do 80 for this one. And then we'll do the same thing again for our long EMA. If I can type. All right. So why is this close? So the way that a Pine script runs is this code, this file that we have, is going to run every single chart, or every single candle that is printed on the chart. Forgive me. So every time this runs, our script runs and gets data, and this right here is the close data. We could use the open of the candle. We could use the high, the low of the candle. Generally, I like using close for as much as possible, unless if we need to use a high or a low. But it's good to be consistent. That's the reason I'm mentioning this, is because let's say later on when we're going to execute trades on this, we want to be as consistent as possible, because that can cause some issues. If some of your indicators are running on the open, some of them are running on the close, you can have indicators that are giving you late data, which will affect your algorithm. So we have our long and our short EMA. Now we're going to put those on the chart. So we run a plot function, EMA short, and we'll set this color equal to color yellow. All right. We'll do the same with our long indicator. Copy paste, EMA long, orange. All right, so we'll save it, and we will do add to chart. Come over here. As we see now, our indicator is add to chart. If it's not added that way, you can click indicators, click my scripts personal right here, and then you can favorite it, or you can just click from here and it'll add to chart. As we see now, we have our EMAs plotted on here. We have our 80 and our 160 EMA. Since we're on the daily chart, that's 80 and 160 daily candles. But if we were to go down to lower time frames, this EMA would adjust to 80 and 160 of whatever candle, whatever time frame you're using. So now that we have these, we can clearly see, okay, this is very basic. We have when the short is above the long, we're bullish. When the long is above the short, we're bearish. So sure, we have some indication of, okay, if we're above it, we're bullish, but we'd like to get some deeper insight onto that. So now what we are going to do is create a further indication of whether we're bullish or bearish by putting a line over our candles that delineate whether we are bullish or bearish. Because again, the whole goal of this is to reduce decisions that we are making. As simple as it may sound, to add a further layer of showing data, this is important, because even if you have some simple indicator like this, you're still thinking, you're still making decisions. The end goal that we are going towards is opening up our charts, having our cheat sheet right here in the right column, all of our data. That is our answer key, our cheat sheet to how we're going to approach the morning. We want to reduce as many decisions as possible. So next up, we have EMAs here. Keep a clean file, just because it comes in handy later on. separate our EMAs. And then let's do highs, lows. All right. So let's create a variable for our line. And this is going to be a line that we're going to plot. But for now, it's going to be NA, which is just empty. There's no value associated with it right now. Line value equals bullish low. All right. First off, actually, before we get to that, apologies, I missed a step. We are going to extract some data from this. So like I said before, the whole point is reducing decisions. We know that if the short's above the long, we're bullish. If the long is above the short, we're bearish. Let's go ahead and create some variables for this so that we can easily access them for any future code. So if EMA short is above EMA long, we're bullish. If EMA long is greater than EMA short, we're bearish. Okay. Now we have our line that we're going to create. If we're bullish, we want this line to be equal to the high of the candle. If we're bearish, we want it to be equal to the low of the candle. So this is just a quick one-line way of saying if we're bullish, if this is true, we're bullish, we're going to set it to the high. If this is false and we're bearish, then we're going to set it to the low. So now we're going to do the same thing with the color just to make it look pretty. Display bullish. If we're bullish, we want the color to be green, so we know we're bullish. If we're not bullish, and that means we're bearish, then we want this to be red, so we're bearish. And we'll go ahead and plot this using the plot function. Line value, color. What color is it? It's a color that we set for our display. Let's make a better name for this. Display is kind of broad. Display color. And then line width. Keep it pretty thin. Title. Make this our high and our low line. All right. So we'll save that. Clean this up a bit. Go back here. So as you can now see, when we are bullish, we'll zoom in a little bit. We have this green line above the tops of our candles. And then if we're bearish, we have this red line on the lows. Again, we're just trying to help visually see where we're at, what price is doing. We want to minimize thinking. So we don't want to have to go, oh, if my indicators are this way, that means this, and then let's check if there's confluence with another indicator. No. We just want to make it as simple as possible so that when we wake up, whether you're trading morning or if you're late in the day and you're fried, we want to make this as easy as possible because in turn, that means more money, more consistency, less emotions getting involved. This may seem dumb, but this is how you do it, making it as simple as possible. So next up, what else do we want to be in here? Well, we know if we're bullish or bearish. That is helpful. But we can see, let's say we're close to our long EMA. We can, expect a bounce there or us to flip bearish. But we'd like some more insight. Let's say we're bullish. One common thing that I see is, we're bullish, but if you're looking at this in simple rule, maybe, okay, if we're far away and we've extended a far amount, then we should expect a retrace. But how do you quantify that? We need to make this quantifiable so we can put it in our code so we can predict it and expect it rather than be reactionary to it or have to think about, oh, is this far away or is this far away or is this the one that's far enough away where we should really expect it? So let's create that. First off, what we want is our distance from price and our long EMA. We could do the short EMA, it's useful a bit right here, but it's probably better if we do the long EMA because, we're you'd have like 5 different EMAs on here if you're going to be trading bounces off of short EMAs. Really, we just need to keep it simple, keep it broad. Are we bullish, and are we far away enough to be expecting a retrace, or are we close enough to where we should expecting just to be in a bullish trend? So what we're going to do now is create our distances. Distances from our EMAs. Now, one other thing I'd like to go over is, you see this distance right here? Let's see, what is price right there? It's 16,000, and our long EMA is about 13,500. It's very simple to go, if you're making a rule that it's going to put into your algorithm, it's very simple to go, okay, we're 2,500 off. So if we go another 2,500 off, we should expect a retrace. But that number is a flat number. That may work here, that may work up here, but that's only because price is so high. Price of NASDAQ, what we're trading, is 20,000. If you were to trade, let's say back when it was 8,000, that's not going to be true. You're not going to see 2,000. Well, maybe right there, but you get what I'm saying. We want our rules to be adaptive to price. We shouldn't have any flat, strict numbers, because they're not adaptive. As price rises, our rules are going to change, and they need to be flexible. We don't want them to work today and then not work tomorrow. So we try and keep that in mind when we are creating algorithms. So what we want is to find this distance, but we want to find it as a percentage or ratio of something that is adapting with the price of the asset that we're trading. So the way that we can do that is by making it a percentage. So we'll create our dynamic distance is what we're going to do. Dynamic distances. So we'll create our first variable, call our long distance threshold, and then we are going to set some percentage of our difference between price and our long EMA that we want to use. So we'll call it our distance percentage, and we'll set this. For now, I've done some testing on the daily, so I know that this 0.12 number, 12%, is a good number. But let's say you were doing this on your own or on a different chart. If you want to convert this over to a Forex chart or something else, you just do some testing to see what looks best, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So we're going to use our distance percentage times our long EMA value, and that gives us the threshold that we are looking for. And then we can now make our upper and lower lines. So let's create our upper line, EMA long, plus our long distance threshold. And we want to do the same for bearish price action. So we'll call this our lower line equals EMA long minus our distance threshold. And we can actually call this, I called it long because we're referring to our long EMA. It doesn't matter, you could rename it just distance threshold. Hopefully that's not confusing at all. And then now we want to plot this upper and lower line. So we'll do our plot function, upper line, and we'll call this one red, because whenever we cross it, we want to enforce that we should be expecting a retrace soon. So we want to color it red so that it makes you think even though we're bullish, we're expecting a retrace, or we're in the territory where we could expect a retrace. Line width, we'll make it pretty thin. Title, upper threshold. And then we'll do the same for lower line. Lower line, except we'll make it green because we're in the territory of looking for reversals to buy. And we'll call this our lower threshold. And then now we're going to create some more variables. like we did with our bullish and bearish, pretty much getting the information that we want from this data. What do we want from this data? We want to know if our price is far above our EMA or if it's far below our EMA. Because when it becomes far out from this, like it does here or here, we expect it to retrace. That's only healthy price action is going to retrace or move sideways towards our EMA to gain equilibrium. So we're going to call this far above. And this is when our high of our candle is greater than our upper line. So when, are we plotting this? Hold on, let's save real quick. There's our lines, okay. So we have our upper line here and our lower line down here. Whenever we get above this line, we can assume, okay, we're pretty far out from our EMA. Maybe we go a little bit farther, but we should be expecting something to retrace soon. And like I said before, this 12% number, if you're on a different chart and this line is too low or too high, you can adjust that percentage to fit whatever chart you're using. Now we're going to do the same for far below, is when our low is less than our lower line. Now, why are we using high and low instead of close, like I said we should use earlier? We could use close. There's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes you may get a wick above here or a wick below here. Like, let's try and find an example. Maybe like something like this. It wicks down. You still want to count that. Sometimes it trades back down into this wick, down to this lower line again, but sometimes it just bounces and takes off. You still want to mark that, just so that you see it and that that it triggered your indicator saying that, hey, we hit the line that we were expecting to hit on this retrace. We should be getting ready to trade back to equilibrium soon. Now, let us do something else as well. So as you can see, where we started out with our two lines crossing for our EMAs, at the time that was useful to know whether we were bullish or bearish and to sort of give us some frame of reference. But now that we have our green line that's going above the candles, or red line that's going below the candles to show us whether we're bullish or bearish, and since we have now our essentially our Bollinger Bands, our outside bands to kind of let us know when we're too far out from an equilibrium of the range, we don't need two lines here. If you want to use it for your trading to note bounces too, you could. But for me, I think it's just a bit of clutter. I don't think the information is necessary. So we're going to take this short one out and just leave our EMA long and then take out our short. So we have our EMA long, and then to delineate bullish or bearish, instead of using these lines crossing, we're just going to use whether we are above our orange long EMA, because that kind of gives us a bit of an earlier indicator as well. And something about trading with indicators or algorithms is you want the earliest data you can get, because the sooner you get it, the sooner you can act on it and profit off of it. So we're going to change this to our close. So if our candle closes above our long EMA, then we're bullish. If it closes below our long EMA, then we're bearish. EMA close. EMA long is above our close. All right. So here we go. We now have our EMA here. We have our bullish and bearish, and we have our far out indicators to let us know we're far out. When it breaks through this, we should expect us to come back to our EMA, our long EMA, or as I call the equilibrium point soon. So same here. We trade above, we retrace some towards it. We don't quite hit it here, but we get close. And then when we come out here again, we retrace back into it. The price moves in a healthy way. So things like this, you should be able to expect to happen. We can't just go straight up forever. If you're trading crypto, that's a different topic. But if you're trading Forex, anything else, that's a pretty good rule of thumb to follow. Crypto, I'll speak on that for a second. I love crypto. I have a lot invested in crypto, but I would never fucking trade that shit. I mean, I have before, but yes, you can make more money in it. You have parabolic price action, but please just take my word for it. It's not worth it. You can make plenty of money in these other markets, and there's just so much bullshit you have to put up with trading crypto. Higher spreads, worse entries, more slippage, just more manipulation, volatility, which can be good, but in the long run you're going to get chopped up. Something's going to happen. Your broker's going to lock you out. There's going to be some news event that just fucks you up. Like I don't see it being worth it. If you're going to go through all that time to learn how to trade, just do anything else. Forex has got plenty of volatility. Indices I love. I think they're very predictable while still having enough volatility. Just be wary. Investing, go ahead, go all in. But this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Do what you want. So next up, what do we want? Next up, what we want to do is, now that we have all of our information plotted on our chart, like I say, this isn't the end goal. We want a cheat sheet. We want to look into this data window here and see the answer key. We want to make it as simple as possible for our brain, no thinking involved, so that we can get their information and save all of our brain power for when we're actually trading and when we're managing trades, entering trades, all of that. So let's print out all this data into our data window. So there is no console log, like, if you've coded in other languages, other projects, there's no console we're logging to. The way that we print stuff from our script into a readable way, if we're logging or debugging or doing whatever, is we use what's called the plot character. So let's do log info. All right, let's log our info. So plot char or plot character. Let's do our distance percentage first. We'll just call this distance per percent. And then we put location equals location dot top. Now, let's see. As you can see now in the data window, actually, let me show you how to get to this. So most of you just have your watch lists, whatever it may be over here. You have alerts, and you have object tree and data window. Object tree will show you if you have any lines marked, rectangles marked, any other markings, they'll show up here. But if you go to data window and you come down to the bottom part, it will show you all the information from your script. So as you can see, we're seeing our EMA plotted here, our high, low line. What is that? High, low line. Oh yeah, that's our line that's going across the candles. And then we have our upper threshold, our lower threshold for our far away bands. And now we have our distance percent logged and shown here. So now we can do some other helpful logging, like, are we bullish? Are we bearish? I'll say bullish, question mark, bearish, question mark. Now we can easily see if we hover over candles, it will show us a 1 or a 0. 1 means true, 0 means false. So if we're hovering over a candle, it will show us if we're bullish. And if we're hovering over, let's say, and we're bearish, it will show us that we're bearish. Now, a cool thing about this as well is if you hover, the data window will adjust to whatever candle you're hovering over. But if you're not on the screen, it will just show you the current day's candle. So let's say you're opening up to trade morning session and you want to get your cheat sheet, you want to get your answer key, you just come over, look at it, highlight somewhere off the screen, and you can see all your data for the day's candle thus far, which is very helpful. So you don't have to hover over current candle or anything. Now let's keep plotting some more information. So let's plot some cool indicators on here. We'll plot a shape. So right now, whenever we go above our far away indicators, so our far above and our far below lines, we don't have anything telling us that we've gone above it. We don't need it, we can see it, but again, we want to reduce decisions, make this as easy as possible. So we want to have a bright circle here telling us, hey, we're above here, you should be expecting to come back to the midpoint soon, or equilibrium. So the way we do that is we're going to do plot shape now. And then the first, actually I'll show you how to use, if you're new to PineScript, these functions. Again, read the documentation if you need to. Search up PineScript version 6 documentation and it's all there. But just to be helpful if you're scripting, is you can do your name of what you want to do in autofill. And you can see here we have all of our different parameters we can use. We don't have to use all of these, but it tells us a bit about each one of them. So at least you can kind of have an idea of what it's asking for. So the first thing is going to be our series. We're going to put our points for our far above. And we'll put location. Where do we want it plotted? We want it to location dot above bar, to put it on the top of the bar if we are above a line. And then we'll do style, shape, dot circle, size, keep it pretty small. We don't want to clutter the chart, tiny, color. So again, if we are above our far above line, we should be expecting a retracement, which means although we're bullish, we should be expecting it to retrace. So we want to be selling. So we'll put red for that. Title, we'll put far above. And then we'll do the same for far below. Copy paste. Far below. Location, we'll put it below the bar if we're below. And we are looking for buys. We'll put color green. Far below. Save and look at what that gets us. So as you can see, now we have a bunch of red dots for whenever we are above the bar. Now, as you know, just because we see one red dot does not mean it's going to drop right then. All that means is we're getting a little heads up that, hey, once we see price start to look like it's reversing on the lower time frames, we should trust it. And we should know, hey, we're trading towards this equilibrium. We may not get all the way there. We may not go there immediately, but price, although it may still be headed in this direction, it's not going to do it forever. It's getting ready for whatever retrace it wants to do. All right. So one other thing, we're most of the way through this. And so far, this is also working for the bearish side as well. If you see our dots were from far below line, we're trading back to the midpoint. And you can use all this to help you in your confluence for determining your biases for the next day, for the next week, whatever. But right now we have this on the daily chart. And something like this is not just for the daily. It can be used on multiple time frames. We start with the daily because you want to start high and work your way lower, but this can be applied to median and lower time frames as well. So we want to do that. So although the lines are showing up here, as you can see, our far above and far below lines are a bit off. So we want to make this script adaptable so that it works on lower time frames as well. So the way we can do that is by adjusting our distance percentage here so that it's different for different time frames, because different time frames are going to be fitted differently so that it's useful. So that our far away and far below bands are, fitted for the time frame we're on. You can also adjust this if you're using a different chart, like Forex, like a different index chart, crypto, whatever. You may need to adjust this number. But I'm going to show you how to adjust it on different time frames, and then you can fine tune it for whatever it is you're using. So how we do this is we're going to make a function called get time frame value, and we're going to get whatever time frame we are currently on, and then we're going to adjust this percentage number dependent on what time frame we're on. So we're looking for a string, because when we get our time frame, it comes back in a string. And then make our function, which is going to be switch. You can use if else if you're familiar with coding. If something happens, then we do something else. But considering we're going to have multiple of these, more than 2 or 3 of these, it's better to use a switch statement. That's better. I think if you're using 3 or more, it's good to use a switch statement. No, don't do that. All right. So there's our switch. And then we'll get the 1 minute time frame. It's just a 1. If you're not familiar with how time frames work, go read the docs. And then we have 5 minute time frame. It's 5. And then these decimal numbers I'm putting next to it are just the percentage numbers that I have found worked on these time frames, that I've fitted for these time frames. But again, if you're using different time frames or using a different chart, fine tune it, test different numbers, and see where these lines kind of fit up nicely to where you're still getting your indicators like this, but it's not too many and it's not too little. It's just right. So now we will do 15-minute time frame. Let's see. 30. $60. Now we're getting to our 4 hour. 4 hours, 240 minutes. And then now we're getting to our daily. Once you get to daily, it switches to 1D. 0.12. All right. Now this distance percentage can be changed from our hard-coded value to get time frame value for our time frame dot period. That will return the current chart that we are on. That gets plugged into our function, which maps it to our different time frames and then gets our value. So now when we come here, we can go down. Let's say we're looking here at this current pullback and are going, oh, are we bullish or are we bearish? Well, from our daily, we seem to be in a bit of premium and we should be expecting to get near our equilibrium. Now, maybe we've already done that right here and here, but personally for me, I think that we could be making another leg lower. Doesn't mean it has to happen immediately, but I think we've got a bit more to go. But let's confirm. Let's go on to the lower time frame, 4 hour. As we can see, this maybe this could be tightened up a little bit. Let's see. No, this is showing a bit well. You can maybe tighten up that decimal a little bit on the 4 hour, but I'm kind of happy with this. Obviously, as we get to lower time frames, it's not going to be as clean because there's more manipulation, more clutter on lower time frames. So you can't, you work from the outside in, from the higher time frames to lower, not vice versa. But we're right at equilibrium. I mean, on the 4 hour, right at equilibrium. So our daily is, we're in premium. We're expecting to be bearish and retrace. On the 4 hour, right in equilibrium, moving sideways. Who knows what's going to happen? 1 hour, still at equilibrium. 30-minute, a bit under, but this has been a sharp move, so we could expect to head lower. 15-minute works well, fitted pretty nicely. But you kind of see the gist. Again, this is not meant to replace your entry model or the way you're trading. This is meant to assist you in reducing decisions and knowing where you're at, gaining some perspective of where price currently is, if it's in premium or discount or equilibrium, or if it's gone too far and expecting a retrace or not. So this was the first video and first example of the kind of stuff that we will be doing. Obviously, it gets more fun, more complex. This is a very basic indicator. Many of you could have just, go grab Bollinger Bands, have it all done. But we're going to build on this, and I'm going to show you other things you can incorporate, other indicators, other rules, other cool things you can do to gather even more data, automate even more your decisions, and continue towards finding consistency or even fully automating your trading. So thank you for joining. If you have questions, please leave them in the comments or go check out Twitter at CandleBots. You can leave a question there and follow me, and I will try and get back to you or make another video answering your question. So thank you very much and have a good one.